I'm going to tell you something you probably already sense, but don't dare to admit. The more you wake up, the more alone you are. And it's not a coincidence. It's not bad luck. It's not that you're weird or antisocial. It's that you've crossed a threshold most people don't even know exists. You've seen something that can't be unseen. And now you walk through a world where almost no one speaks your language. The loneliness of awakening is not the absence of people. You can be surrounded by hundreds of people and feel absolutely isolated. Because what separates you isn't physical distance, it's distance of consciousness. While others get lost in conversations about who won the game, or what celebrity caused what scandal, you're trying to decode the invisible laws that move the universe. While others look for validation in likes and comments, you look for truth in silence. And that gap, that difference in vibration, places you in a territory where superficial connections no longer satisfy, where social masks feel unbearable, where pretending interest in the trivial feels like betraying your own soul. Nikola Tesla understood this better than anyone, a genius who saw beyond the visible, who channeled ideas directly from the quantum field, who spoke of energy, frequency, and vibration as the fundamental building blocks of reality. And he died alone, in a hotel room, without family, without close friends, surrounded only by his thoughts and pigeons. Failure? No. Coherence. Because Tesla knew something most ignore. When you raise your frequency, you automatically desynchronize from low frequencies. And most of humanity operates at very, very low frequencies. Tesla said something few understand. If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. But here's what they don't tell you. That phrase isn't only about science. It's about human relationships. Every person emits a frequency, an energetic field resulting from their thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and level of consciousness. And people connect when their frequencies resonate. It's basic physics. Two tuning forks in the same note vibrate together. Two people on the same frequency understand each other without words. But when you begin to wake up, your frequency changes, it rises, it refines, and suddenly the conversations that once seemed normal now feel empty. The topics that used to entertain you now bore you. The people you used to laugh with now drain you. It's not that you've become arrogant, it's that you've changed the channel, and on that new channel, fewer people are tuned in. Here comes the uncomfortable part. Most friendships are built on completely superficial foundations, sharing hobbies, being in the same places, having common history. But none of that is real connection. It's convenience disguised as companionship. And when you start to wake up, that convenience crumbles. Because you can't pretend anymore. You can't participate in conversations you know lead nowhere. You can't nod along while others complain about problems they created themselves and refuse to solve. Spiritual awakening is brutal because it forces you to be honest. And honesty is the least popular thing there is. People don't want honesty. They want comfort. They want confirmation of their beliefs. They want to be told they're fine exactly as they are, that their decisions were right, that they don't need to change anything. And you, with your new awareness, can't give them that anymore. Not because you don't want to, because it would be a lie, and lying now feels physically painful. So you pull away, or they push you away, because your presence becomes an uncomfortable mirror. You reflect other people's avoidance, their denial, their unconfronted fears, and no one wants to see that. It's easier to label you as weird, intense, changed, than to look at themselves and ask why your awakening makes them so uncomfortable. Tesla experienced this constantly. His ideas were too advanced, his visions too radical. He spoke of free energy for all humanity, while others only saw money and power. He spoke of connection with higher intelligences, while others called him crazy. And the loneliness he lived wasn't punishment. It was the natural consequence of being decades ahead of his time. But here's what no one has told you about that loneliness. It isn't emptiness, it's space. Space to think without contamination. Space to create without interference. Space to connect with levels of reality the world's noise blocks. The loneliness of awakening is a privilege disguised as pain, because in that silence, the real inner alchemy happens. Think about this. How many times have you felt you had to lower your energy to fit in? How many times have you silenced your real thoughts because you know no one would understand? How many times have you pretended interest in banal conversations just so you wouldn't be excluded? That isn't connection. That's betrayal. Betrayal of yourself. And awakening shows you that betrayal with brutal clarity. Society is designed to keep people asleep. It's not a conspiracy. It's the system's survival. A system that needs consumers, obedient workers, predictable voters. And for that, it needs most people to remain in a state of semi-consciousness, entertained but not awake, busy but not fulfilled, digitally connected but spiritually disconnected. And when someone wakes up, they become a threat to that system, not because they try to destroy it, but because their very existence proves there's another way to live. A way that doesn't depend on external approval. A way that doesn't need to consume to feel whole. A way that finds meaning in the invisible, not the material. That's why the awakened get marginalized, not officially, not with laws, but subtly, through social rejection, through mockery disguised as humor, through the isolation that comes from not fitting into any predefined box. And the pressure is immense. The temptation to go back to sleep, to return to the comfort of unconsciousness, is constant. Because being awake hurts, seeing the truth hurts, walking alone hurts, but something hurts more. Betraying yourself. Going back into the cave after you've seen the sun, pretending you don't know what you know. That is death while alive. And the truly awakened prefer conscious solitude to unconscious company, because solitude is honest. False company is a prison. Tesla chose that solitude, not because he hated humanity, but because he loved truth more than he feared being alone. And he devoted his entire life to pursuing that truth, no matter the personal cost. No family, no fortune, no recognition in his time. He died poor and forgotten. But he left a legacy that changed the world. The alternating current that lights your home. The foundations of wireless technology, concepts we're still barely beginning to understand. Would he have achieved all that if he had yielded to social pressure? If he had tried to fit in? If he had prioritized popularity over purpose? Impossible, because genius requires solitude, vision requires silence, and awakening requires distance from the collective noise. Here is the truth no one wants to hear. You're not alone because something is wrong with you. You're alone because something is right. You're aligned with your truth. You're operating at a higher frequency, and at that frequency, there is less company. But the company that exists is real, deep, authentic, because when two awakened people meet, the connection is instant. No need to explain, no need to pretend. They recognize each other, like two foreigners in a strange land who meet and share the same forgotten language. The problem is, those encounters are rare, not because other awakened people don't exist, but because they are scattered, hidden, protecting their energy, because they've learned that sharing their truth with someone who isn't ready only creates rejection, ridicule, or worse, attempts to drag them back into the collective sleep. And here is something that will sound harsh, but needs to be heard. Your old friends won't understand your awakening, and that's okay. It's not their fault or yours. You're simply at different points on the path. And clinging to relationships that no longer resonate with you isn't loyalty, it's fear. Fear of being alone. fear of being judged, fear of losing what's familiar, even though what's familiar no longer nourishes you. Letting go is one of the hardest lessons of awakening. Letting go of people, places, identities that no longer represent you. Because awakening isn't additive, it's subtractive. It's not about adding more things to your life. It's about removing everything that isn't truly yours. And that includes relationships based on who you were, not who you are. Most people build their identity on their social network. How many friends they have, how many invitations they get, how popular they are. And awakening destroys that identity. It shows you that quantity isn't quality, that 100 superficial acquaintances don't equal one deep connection, that being surrounded by people and feeling empty is worse than being alone and feeling whole. Tesla knew this. That's why he rejected invitations. That's why he avoided social events. That's why he preferred the company of his experiments and his thoughts. It wasn't misanthropy, it was energetic protection. Because every superficial interaction drains energy, and he needed that energy for his work, for his mission, to channel the ideas waiting to manifest through him. And here is the crucial point. When you wake up, you begin to understand you have a mission. Not in the grandiose sense of saving the world, but in the deep sense of fulfilling your unique purpose. Something only you can do. A specific frequency only you can emit. And protecting that mission becomes a priority. Because you know that if you betray it, if you sacrifice it to fit in, you will have wasted your life. The loneliness of awakening then isn't loss. It's focus. It's clarity. It's the price you pay to remain faithful to your truth in a world that rewards conformity. And yes, it hurts. No one said it wouldn't. But that pain is growth. It's the old skin falling away to reveal a new one. It's the caterpillar dying so the butterfly can be born. But there's a trap many awakened people fall into. The trap of spiritual superiority. Believing that because you've awakened, you're better than others. Judging those who still sleep. Feeling contempt for those who don't see what you see. That isn't awakening. That's ego disguised as enlightenment. True awakening brings compassion, not arrogance, understanding, not judgment. You realize each person is exactly where they need to be, that sleep is also part of the process, that you can't force anyone to awaken, that each soul has its own timing. And you respect that, not with condescension, but with the humility of knowing you were asleep too, and that someone, at some point, had the patience not to judge you while you were waking up. Tesla never belittled humanity, despite his loneliness, despite being misunderstood, despite others stealing his ideas and taking the credit. He kept working for everyone's benefit, because his awakening didn't separate him from humanity. It connected him on a deeper level. He saw the potential. He saw what we could become if we awakened collectively. And that is the true purpose of your solitude. It isn't to isolate you forever. It's to prepare you, refine you, strengthen you, so that when the time comes, when you find your tribe, those few souls vibrating at your frequency, you're ready for that connection. A connection not based on need, but on resonance, not on dependence, but on mutual recognition. Because the truth is, the awakened do have friends, few but deep, not convenience friends, but soul friends. People you can talk to about the nature of reality at 3 in the morning. People who don't judge you when you share your strangest visions. People who understand you without you having to explain every word. Those connections are rare because they are sacred. You don't find them in bars or on social media. You find them on the path, when you least expect it, when you've stopped searching, when you've finally made peace with your solitude. Then they appear, as if by magic. But it isn't magic, it's synchronicity, the universe connecting compatible frequencies. In the meantime, you have to learn to be okay with yourself. And that's what terrifies most people. Being alone with their own mind, without distractions, without noise, without anyone, validating them, facing their shadows, their fears, their unresolved parts. That's why people run from solitude. They fill themselves with plans, commitments, empty relationships, anything rather than being alone. But awakening forces that encounter with yourself, with your true self, not the social self, not the self you perform for others, but the naked self, without masks, without filters. And in that encounter, you discover something extraordinary. You don't need as many people as you thought. The best company is your own once you've done the inner work. Solitude is only painful when you're running from yourself. Tesla spent years in complete solitude, working, creating, dreaming. And in that solitude, he channeled inventions that transformed civilization. Would that have been possible with an active social life, with constant interruptions, with the need to explain his ideas to people not ready to understand them? No. Genius needs silence, vision needs space, and awakening needs solitude to mature. So if you feel alone on your path, ask yourself this: are you truly alone, or have you simply left behind what no longer served you? Is it the absence of connection, or space for a deeper connection? Is it punishment or protection? Because here is the final truth. The loneliness of awakening is temporary. It's a stage, not a destination. It's the gestation period before birth, the silence before the symphony. And when you come out of it, when you emerge fully transformed, you will find your people. You won't have to look for them. You will recognize each other by the light in the eyes, by the depth in the words, by the frequency they emit. And then you'll understand it was worth it. Every moment of solitude, every friendship lost, every time you felt strange, because all of it led you to who you really are. And that person, that awakened version of you, is infinitely more valuable than any sleeping version surrounded by sleeping people. Tesla died alone, but he didn't die empty. He died having fulfilled his purpose, having given the world what he came to give, without compromises, without betraying his truth. And if that's the price of authenticity, it's a price worth paying. So embrace your solitude, not as punishment, but as privilege, as the sacred space where your transformation happens, where you meet yourself, where you free yourself from the need for external approval, where you learn that the only validation you need is your own. And remember this: you are not alone. You never have been. You are connected to something much greater than any human friendship. You are connected to the universal information field, to the consciousness that permeates everything, to the same source Tesla drew his visions from. And that connection, this communion with the infinite, is richer than 1,000 superficial friendships. Awakening doesn't take your friends away. It takes away the illusion that you needed so many. It shows you that quality infinitely surpasses quantity, that one real conversation is worth more than 1,000 empty chats, that one moment of true connection nourishes more than years of superficial company. So walk your path, alone if necessary, because in the end, all spiritual paths are solitary. No one can awaken for you. No one can do your inner work. No one can see what you need to see. It's your journey, your process, your awakening. And when you finally arrive where you need to arrive, you'll look back and be grateful for every moment of solitude. Because in that solitude, you were born, the real you, the awakened one. If you made it to the end of this video, comment, "I vibrate in tune," and I will personally reply. And if it resonated with you, subscribe to be part of it and hit like if you enjoyed it. Until next time.